We are going to do a little demonstration here once again with Pastel, but we're going to use a different approach. Sorry about this. Get that going. And what I'm going to try is to play some music, so hopefully it'll keep the image from going out. Okay. I want to just give you another approach to dealing with Pastel. I'm going to use this image here. Once again, I don't have a color printer, so I'm just going to have to work off the pictures on the laptop. And what's different now is we're going to start with a fresher way. We're not going to cover the paper in black and then erase through and then apply color. We're going to start with color immediately, and this is going to be a more painterly approach. And I'm going to start, if I look at my image, I've got, basically a little water background. So I'm going to start again rather boldly. If you viewed the PowerPoint I sent, you'll kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here and about this approach. I'm going to get it a little closer to the color that's actually there. Blue. Then I'm going to put some color down below. Lighten this up a little, maybe with a little brown in here. Find the brown, that's black. I don't know what to do with my brown pastel. Just go ahead and use a little more of this. And take a little white. Get a little off-white. I'm also going to brush a little white over to those colors that I use at the top. I'm going to take the napkin this time. I am going to smear. And I just want to get rid of the white paper. You'll see in the demonstration or the PowerPoint that I sent, I talked about pastels that were done on toned paper. So toned paper can be a little expensive, and again, I just wanted to show you another approach which is very similar. We're going to get rid of the whiteness of the paper by just putting a little color down first. Now, before I started the video, I went ahead and did that previously here, and I sprayed it with workable fixative just so that I could cut down a little of the time here. And now what I want to do is to start developing this in a quicker way. You'll notice the image. I picked an image, and I told you we wanted to try to engage the figure, and so we're going to do that so we have some kind of different subject matter to portray instead of the still life material we've been using for the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to start real generally here. I'm going to start with a little red, and I'm going to use the swimsuit as a form and develop the body from that. The swimsuit is a geometric shape, okay? It's based out of triangles and some rectangles and some other geometric shapes that really make it much easier to use as a beginning point. We're going to look at the basic skirt area. Just a little shape that is going to get me started, coming up to the torso and come back around to the neck area. Now I'll be able to change this if the need arises in my development of this image. Now, of course, the color that we're looking at in the actual image is a much brighter color, much lighter. So I'm going to work a little white into this to get it a little closer to what we're looking at. Now, certainly it's possible to be able to do this without necessarily having to use your fixative. However, I like the idea of being able to work freshly and not lose as much of the color. It kind of saves you some steps in having to go back and strengthen the color that might be weakened when it mixes with the background color. So now I've got a beginning point here, and I'm going to build off of that. So I'm going to use a little flesh color. So to get close to it as possible, I'm going to use a little of the my materials here. Okay, now we got to stick around here. Okay. I'm also going to begin first with a little bit of orange, and then I'm going to work into it with a little brown. Alright, so I'm going to, the leg is an easy shape. You know, it's broad at the top in the thigh area, and then you come down and it forms like a cylinder, and then comes down, and we get a little curve here in the shin area. Okay, I'm going to take a little of the brown, work some of that in there, and then I'm going to take a little white to lighten this up. I'm going to use it to blend with. See that? There we go. Okay. Now remember what I said when we were working on the apple, is that use your negative space to help shape the boundary. So we're going to come back later and we work that background area with some development of the negative space. I'm going to change this shape and broaden it here a little. Okay. And the foot kind of just disappears into the sand. And the same with the other leg, the orange. They overlap each other. So this comes out. She's leaning, stretching that foot out. We're here in the calf, and a little broadening here. Okay. A little brown. And some white. We bring a little of the pastel-like palette here. And our subject is outdoors, so that's going to require us to make some adjusting. There's a little shadow back where the leg overlaps, so I'm going to leave a little of that brown right in there. I'm also going to pull some down because it's kind of used its presence as a shadow. And there's also a little bit of the top part of her hip here. I'll blend it with a little orange over the top, soften it. Soften this as well. Okay. Alright. So I'm going to reshape this and clean up this kind of ragged edge later on with a little background. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to do a little blending. I'm going to take this and lightly rub over it. Lightly. The key word is lightly. I just want to spread a little of that powder from the pastel around. Now, you know this is messy. One step I forgot was to lay a towel in my lap here to catch some of this falling pastel powder. And of course, now these are going to be my pastel pants. Alright, so I'm going to go up now and I'm going to try something a little different here. It seems like her arms, because they're in shadow up at the top, this one on the left side, it looks a little darker. So I'm going to go ahead and look at establishing it, but this time I'm going to use brown first. Again, there's something long. It comes out here, her hand is out in this direction, shoulder in here, approximates the location of the other one which protrudes, and it gets partially hidden, and then it comes out here, and again rests out in this position. Alright, now she's far away. I can't see fingernails, so you know you can generalize this kind of information. I'm going to come back over it with a little of the orange now. Use some of that to reshape. Again, I'm going to trim some of this off with my background color. For now, it's going to kind of stick out like a sore thumb for a little while. here, here. I'm out. Just kind of generalize and scratch over the hands. Again, one of the words I used to describe this technique was gestural. So we're going to use a gestural approach. Now I feel like my dress or the skirt and torso probably needs a little widening. I got a little too big of a negative space, so I'm going to pull that up right there, in here, and lessen some of the presence of that negative shape. On the other side, I'm going to have to open this up with negative space. Okay, so now let me get a little bit of the head. However, a lot of the head is also got the presence of hair. All right, I'm going to look at the shoulder to locate the chin. Chin drops down to about right here because she's looking downward. Come up, and the face is going to look real small because her head is tilted downward in a downward position. Now I'm going to take a little of the brown and I put in a head shape here, the top of her head, and then I've got hair spilling over, even overlapping the shoulder, all the way out here. Make this a little larger, come down, and it latches over on this side. I'm going to reshape that in a little while. Okay. I've got some more skin that's showing here, so I'm going to lose a little part of the suit there, and also begin to tuck in a little skin color in the neck area. All of that is actually going to be part of the head. Okay. I'm going to take a little black and I'm going to use it to darken part of the hair. This is really dark in here. Kind of shapes the face with that shadow, the hair resting on the shoulder. And I'm going to take a little orange and lighten a little of that hair color up right in here. Right here. And over in this area. Okay. So that'll be a good beginning here. And I'm going to take a little time to go into negative space. I'm going to come back with some of the color I used previously. Green, namely the green and the white. Alright, so I've got to shave a little of this off here. This comes in and goes up. So I'm going to take a little of the white, that in there. Reshape a little of that area. Clean this up too with a little green. Shape this area here, in and around. Get a softer edge. Clean this side up too. Yeah, I'm not really doing a very detailed look with the background space. Come all the way around the shoulder. Clean this up. Carving her out now. Carving her out of that space. I work a little green in here. Just blending. Like that. I'm also going to pull a little in here. Still think her trunk is a little broad, so I'm going to come in here. Broaden her body a little bit. She seems a little on the thin side, so I'm going to bulk up the arms. Here. This comes up higher. arm, and a little more width in the upper wrist, and a little more muscle on that shoulder there. And a little white to kind of indicate the thumbs, and slightly curved fingers. Alright, now I'm going to even out. I'm going to come back and just initiate a little more orange here. Clean up that edge next to the skirt. There's also a little bit of a suit right here. You have the skirt part, and then you have the bottom part of her suit that shows through here. And then this is probably the area that I'm going to distinguish as being a little different, the skirt part. And we're going to make it just a little redder, so it looks like there's another part to the swimsuit. I'll add a little light in there later. Also want to portray this, actually comes all the way across, like so. And then I've come to realize now that this is negative space. Cut some of that off there too. And a little light. I'm going to put a little blue in this background color later on. For right now, I just want to leave it with this one color, and then I'll even it out a little bit as I work on this. There'll be a few minutes in a while where I'm going to leave you and work on this. Let me take a little blue right now. Go ahead and work this out. Do a little blending again. And a little more of a sea or ocean blue back here. See her beginning to take form. Now what's tricky here is you run into this problem in painting with negative space. You take a little blue on the paper towel and work it in that area as a way of bringing a little blue into that green. Come back, clean it up again. This is the same thing that happens when you're painting as well. You need to keep going back and forth to be between positive and negative space. I also just realized now, looking at the skirt with curves, the thigh curves around, that skirt does a little dance. Just blowing in the air. Oh, it looks like we got some hail as we're working here. I'm also going to shave down a little of this. You can also make use of your stuff in your medicine cabinet there. A little bit of this Q-tip can be used as a blender as well. And I'm going to use some of it to doctor up this negative space because it has a smaller area there. You can see that. I'm also going to raise her hip a little higher. Like so. And she's got a little more flushiness right here. Okay. Alright, she's looking a lot better now. Take a little white. Color. I'm going to go ahead and take a pause in the action right now. Since we're getting in the middle of the rain being an issue, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and then do a little more drawing and then come back to you on the flip side.